Morning to you. Tonight, it's 11. I'm running a bit behind. We're going to be doing a movie review and plot outline for the movie The Wrath of Becky, which is, I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. What I liked about it was the stylistic visual of it. It had a very kind of graphic novel tone to it, if you know what I mean, and they did a good job with that. And you can tell from just how stylistic the outfits are, especially for Becky, and also just for example, the violence has a pulp, aggressive, extravagance to the violence, which I thought was really fitting to the story. At the end of the day, this is the kind of story that you could pick up as a graphic novel and read it and enjoy it. It had that feel to it, and I really enjoyed that aspect to the movie. Um, the movie is, I think, the shortest movie out of all the movies I reviewed. It's only an hour and like 20 something minutes, um, but very good nonetheless. Sometimes watching it, I felt like the last encounter with the main bad guy could have been a bit longer, but that's fine. That's not a problem. I don't really have any critiques. I didn't see anything like some of the other films. I noticed there were some weird cuts, some things that didn't match up. I didn't see anything like that in this film. There was nothing that seemed out of place. I mean, there is one question I have in the movie, but that's okay. I'll ask that question. I guess it's kind of a critique that I have for the movie itself. Now, if you don't know The Wrath of Becky, this is the sequel to the first movie called Becky, which I haven't seen. But they do a little bit of flashbacks in the film itself that cut back to the first movie, and you can tell there's a big difference in the quality and everything, and how it's shot, and like just the color and tone of it. In this movie, the last movie, the flashbacks, the tones were more darker blues. I think most of the fight was happening at night. So in this one, the colors were a lot brighter. It takes mostly in a forest area. That's where the main action is. And yeah, so that the movie, I really enjoyed it. What's her name? Lulu Wilson plays Becky. I think she did a fantastic job. I think she's even one of the executive producers, and she's only like 20 years old, and the movie came out in 2023, so she must have been what, 18 or something like that. So before I go any further, this movie review and plot outline is brought to you by the Indie Showcase and the Stay Gold Film Festival, which is on Film Freeway. And the regular deadline for that is December 24th. And I just want to say also, like always, I'm promoting my book. It's on Amazon, and it's called Dialogues, Oklahoma Independent Cinema. It's only like $14.99 plus shipment. So grab yourself a copy if you're interested in the whole a little piece of the Oklahoma independent scene here. I myself have made a movie called Stray Kids. It also has a graphic novel feel, so I can appreciate that aspect about The Wrath of Becky. Myself being a filmmaker, but they did a way better job than me. I mean, they were SAG. There was a full production. I was just one person with volunteers. So they did an incredible job. I highly recommend it. Two thumbs up, five out of 5 stars. It's wacky, it's quirky, it has some dark humor. It's gory, that's for sure. It is very gory. So you have all that in play if you like that kind of thing. And I was entertained by it. I was really entertained by it. And it just seems like every movie that I pick movies that I think I will enjoy, and I pick movies that are creative, different, really stick out and just stand on their own. So major props to the people that made that movie. I guess they had a lot of success from the first movie they made, and it's really cool to see a group of people make an independent movie and from that success, create something with a little bit, something a little bit more robust, bigger. And it also co-stars, what's his name? Sean William Scott, I believe his name is. I haven't seen him in movies in a while, so it's cool to see him in this role because this is a complete different role than he ever plays, and he did a good job playing the villain in this one. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It's quite humorous. It's quite entertaining. The dialogue is like it's really it's back and forth, and I really enjoy it. The Becky, the character herself, she is way out there, way out there as a character, and I really enjoyed watching Lulu play this character throughout the movie. Um, I will say though, I will say there isn't much of a character arc for the character. Not a whole lot of change in her, but what I will say is you kind of do see an evolution of where she's like starting out from and where she ends up, and I'll explain that in the outline. But overall, like I said, I highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I give it a watch. It was really enjoyable. If you like dark humor, if you like that pulp, extravagant violence, blood, it's in a very entertaining way. I recommend it. Sadly, I lost a little soft foamy thing that goes on my microphone. If you guys hear me okay, I'm not even sure. I think this is working okay. But I don't know anything else to say about it, and then I really enjoyed the stylistic visual of it and storytelling. I liked how she in the beginning of in the movie, like in the first, I would say about 20 minutes, she's like narrating part of her life. There's flashbacks that are cuts from the original movie, so you get to see little flashbacks. But yeah, like overall, it's just a very entertaining movie. It doesn't have a lot of depth to it, but they do a good job of setting the theme in the beginning of the movie, setting like basically kind of get the gist of what this is going to be about. I find the villains really funny because the villains are pretty much they're pretty much your typical. They're very radical, first of all, and they're armed and dangerous, but they're like your typical groypers, the people that watch Nick Fuentes religiously. These are like these people, but taken to a very radical and dangerous extreme. So I found that very humorous because groypers are just they're all about Adolf Hitler, and these characters were all about Adolf Hitler, and we'll get into that in the plot line. What's up? What's up? I got people commenting. Hayden, Dubai. Are you from Dubai? Very cool. We have Jeremiah. Lim Jahi, pleased to meet you. But oh, is that your name? Lim? Is that Lim J? I hope I didn't butcher that. Pleased to meet you as well. So I'm talking about the movie, the Wrath of Becky. If you missed my whole little spiel in the beginning, I was just kind of talking about it a little bit. Yes, I do know Fortnite. I'm not. Familiar with it, but I actually don't play it. I don't play a lot of video games, unfortunately. I wish I had the game console and all that stuff. I do. There was a one computer game that I do play, but my computer is not the best to do that. Roblox, yes, I know Roblox very well. A lot of kids addicted to it. It's like their religion. But yeah, it's a fun, addicting game. I played it years ago for a little bit with a friend. It can be so addicting. Oh man, it can be so addicting. But how do I get off to topic? We're here to talk about the movie The Wrath of Becky. Um, if you like that kind of like pulp, extravagant, violent, stylistic, visually kind of film, this is right up your alley, And like I said, this is the kind of movie that if it was printed into a graphic novel, you can enjoy it as a graphic novel for sure. It has that tone to it. And there's moments in and I haven't seen this in a long time. It's I'm vaping a pineapple grapefruit nicotine. It's not anything like THC or anything. Um, but yeah, I buy these down at the convenience store, gas station. You know, I don't very. I have to say I don't smoke these a whole lot. They usually last me like 3 months. But anytime I'm pushing myself and just trying to focus on something, it's like really late at night. Kind of helps me get through all of this. But I've been doing the movie reviews for a while now. This is my eighth one. This is my eighth one, and I plan to kind of do. I do one like every other day, and so you can check out. I have a playlist dedicated to movie reviews. You can check out the movies, the reviews I've done in other movies. Frankenstein, The Marksman. What else did I do? Fat Man, starring Mel Gibson. I've done some other ones. Little Toby. What do you say? Which law? Remember the episode of Seinfeld where George grabs the eclair from the trash? The eclair. For some reason, I'm having a hard time remembering that one. I'm having a hard time remembering that one. But I wish they would do like a one time like made for TV movie, Seinfeld or something like they're older and everything. I think that would be really interesting. But so with that out of the way, going over like what I liked about it and kind of giving it a quick overview, I'm gonna jump to the plot outline and just kind of start from the beginning of the movie and go through the whole movie from beginning to end. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Seinfeld is absolutely one of my favorites. Lily says down there, it's still a good super. How do you say that? Super Saya. If you had to recommend top movie 2025, ooh, that's a hard one because all the movies I reviewed are really good. But I do, if I have to say the top movie of 2025, at least from what I've seen, I definitely would recommend The Outfit. The Outfit is a very interesting movie. I like how it's like all one location. You don't see that in a lot of movies. But yeah, The Outfit. I highly recommend that. If there's any movie, I recommend all the movies I've seen. But if you say top, which one I think is the top, I give it to The Outfit. Very very cool film. It's a gangster film that takes place in Chicago, like I want to say 1950s, something like that. Maybe earlier than that, actually, like 1940s, perhaps. Very interesting. But I recommend this one, The Wrath of Becky. If you want to see a 16-year-old go nuts and kill everybody in a very intelligent way, like I said, it's the violence is I would call it aggressive violence with a twist of pulp to it. It's very like dark humor, and it's just hilarious to me. It's entertaining and hilarious. So that's on Netflix. All the movies I watch are on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you can access those movies. They are currently available, and these are all the movies that have been like added recently. But so I'm gonna go ahead. I brought a little bit of something to drink here, so just to keep going. I appreciate those that have stopped by. I appreciate you guys very much. So let's get to it, huh? Let's get to the plot outline. It's one of my favorite parts because as a filmmaker myself and screenwriter, I like to break things down into little sections and kind of go over things. So the movie starts out immediately with Becky getting out of the car. It's in this house that's like really beautiful. She's wearing all white, and she's got a foster. I don't know what you call them, a foster person that's gonna like take her to her new foster parents. What is this? Before I continue, I want to check out this comment. Got it. I'll check it out. Thanks. You ever watch Subservient Thoughts? I'm not sure what that is actually. Is that a YouTube channel or what is that? Subservient Thoughts? Interesting. Fill me in because I don't know. But I'll continue here. Um, so Becky is introduced to these like foster parents, the Gibbs, Ted Gibbs, and I believe Alice Gibbs, and they're like, it goes to a freeze frame on Becky's face, and it's really funny because it's like like she's just like it's a whole different person, right? Like we from the first movie, she's like a very violent person, right? And so we see her in this white dress, perfect smile, and it's funny because it does a freeze frame and she does some narration and stuff. It's like, I know this is not what you're expecting, is what she says. There's like question marks that appear on the screen. Kind of goofy, kind of funny. But Ted and Alice are like really hilarious. Okay, really funny because they're like the perfect couple in a sense. You know, they're like what makes it funnier is that they're what do you call them? They're interracial couple. You got a black man and a white woman. The black man is like he acts so perfectly, politely, you know, nothing wrong with that. I'm just stating out how this character is. And she calls him in the narration like a wackos, you know, it's kind of funny. But they're like very strong Christian values, very nice couple. You know, they're looking to foster a child. And so she comes in, they're at the table having dinner, and Ted is going on about how the district is like the best district for education. It's very Christian centric, blue ribbon, top tier, top class, top notch, really funny. And the woman Alice is like going on about you know, church and how there's this little girl named Sarah in a wheelchair that they can be friends with. And if you know Becky from the first movie, this is like not her personality, not her world. And she's acting. She's acting. She's like, oh yeah, let's go. You know, I can't wait for tomorrow to enroll and everything. She's just playing along, right? And you're kind of like, what is going on here, right? And so it cuts to like Becky in her bed, and the room is like light blue, pink with rainbows. It even has Becky, her name on like right over her bed. She's got her dog Diego with her, and the very last scene is like the mom is like, "All right, if you need anything, we'll be next door." And she's like, "Oh, you're my angels." And she's like, "All right, good night, sweetheart." And Becky says, "Good night, mom." And and it's so funny it's that beginning, the 5 minutes of the movie is hilarious. And so it's funny because Alice is like, Ted, she called me mom. Like it's just really funny. And so once the door closes, her demeanor changes completely. It changes completely from her faking to be like the perfect angel to like the Becky we know from the first movie. This just very calculating, really intelligent. She doesn't, you know, she doesn't care for any of this, you know. And so she immediately gets out of the window, like trying to sneaks out with her dog. And the last shot, she arranged her name that was over her bed to say bye, which a hilarious touch, hilarious touch. Oh, okay. So I got a comment here. Subservance is a movie on Netflix. It's crazy. Oh, I gotta check it out. I'll check it out. Thanks for the recommendation. Appreciate that. So that's pretty much cuts that whole 5 minute intro. Then it cuts to the credits, which is done with a graphic novel style, with you know credit titles of people's names and whatever. But the credits, the graphic novel style of credits, they show you know it tells a story of her like escaping houses and other foster parents, working at a diner. I think she's even stealing money. She buys a knife. You know, she's hitchhiking and she gets picked up by a woman in a car, and that's pretty much the whole like credit sequence. And then the movie starts again, and it starts with her in these like gray matching like jogging pants and jogging sweater. She's running. She's got like this knife that's strapped to her leg. She's running, and like she throws a knife at a tree, and it's like it hits the tree perfectly. And she's like like she's almost running like an obstacle course that she built. You know, there's bear traps. There's that she set. There's a hole she dug, and she accidentally falls in it. And so, I mean, I haven't seen the first movie, but there's enough clips in the movie, like what do you call them, back flashes, where you understand what happened, and through her narration, her father, she, her and her father got attacked because her father had hid this key. It's a Nazi key that is like people were trying to neo Nazis were trying to get to it. And this is the first movie. It's called Becky. I haven't seen it, so I can't tell you much about it. But there's enough flashbacks to fill you in on the backstory there. And so she still has the key. They killed her father, and then later, a little bit later in the scenes when she's having breakfast with what's her name? What's her name? It's let's call it. Well, her last name is Khan. I believe it's Elaine. Yeah, Elaine, almost like Seinfeld. Yeah, Elaine. That's funny. I think it's Elaine. I think it's Elaine. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's this black older woman, and she is the one that picked her up when she was hijacking from the graphic novel storytelling and during the credits. Anyways, they're having breakfast and they're talking a bit, and Elaine says, how'd you sleep? Becky says, just as always, she can't sleep, and she has like she just can't sleep, and she's remembering and having back flashes of her mom having cancer and whatnot. So at this point in the story, we know her dad was killed and murdered by neo Nazis, and her mom died of cancer. And in the first movie, she killed all the neo Nazis that were trying to steal the key. So she's already done a lot of crazy stuff. And this is like basically the movie starts. The status quo is that she's trying to have a nice, quiet life, kind of starting over. She's still very young. She's 16. She doesn't want to do school. She doesn't want to have foster parents. She wants to be pretty much off grid and do her thing. And so basically, she goes to this diner where she works, and there's a scene where she's like serving. She's in this like typical diner outfit. It says Becky. She's got a name tag, and she's serving a man breakfast. And the man goes, "Oh, sweetheart," and she's like, "Don't call me sweetheart. Like, do you see my name on my name tag?" And the guy's like, "Yeah." She's like, "What does it say?" It's like, "Becky." Yeah, that's my name, not sweetheart. But she gets like you can see she's very like she doesn't take any shit from anybody, even though she's like this little 16-year-old. But essentially, the man goes, "Oh, sweetheart, I mean Becky," and just kind of complains about the food and is like, he's like, "The butter's on the side. I like my toast to have the butter on the toast right when the toast comes out of the toaster, so that way it's nice and warm and melted." And Becky is like just so mad in the inside, and there's a scene where she grabs a plate and smashes it and throws it, and it hits the guy in the throat, and he's like bleeding and dying, and she's just laughing diabolically. Yeah, but that's not what really happens. That's what she wishes she can do. And I like movies that do that. And the movie this movie does this a couple of times. You don't see that very often in movies, but I guess when it's a good indie type movie, you will see that kind of stuff. But like I said, the editing and the visuals are very stylistic, very graphic novel feel. And so, she goes on, she's like eating a burger outside and gets ketchup on her outfit and just is annoyed, and she looks at the clock and it hits 3 o'clock, and that's when she clocks out and goes home. So we're home, and she's playing Scrabble with Miss Khan, and they're kind of just talking a little bit, and Miss Khan is talking about how Scrabble can really tell you about a person by the words they choose. And so it's funny is Becky chooses killer for the first word. Her second word is a new, and then Miss Khan writes survive, which is pretty much the theme of the whole movie is to survive, right, and to go into survival mode. And that's what she does throughout the whole movie. So, we're establishing the status quo of her life, and you do that in the beginning of movies and whatnot. And so after that night, and you hear on the radio in the kind of the background where there's like basically they're telling the news and whatnot, and they're saying how there's a group called the Noblemen, and they've been hitting small towns, and they're just afraid of where they're gonna show up and cause trouble. And so as it happens, they show up in her town. And this is what sparks the movie forward, right? After we hit the inciting incident. The inciting incident is basically a point in the movie where the status quo gets challenged, and it turns into a whole new thing, right? The hero is faced with a serious issue, a problem, or whatever, and it's when something hits her pretty hard, or in the story, that changes everything, changes the status quo of things. So we cut to Becky. She's working in the diner, and you have these three guys. They kind of remind me a little bit of the Three Stooges, but not that silly. It's just that one guy, Anthony, they all have different personalities, and they're all noblemen, right? They're all part of this group. And Anthony is the more muscular alpha type, is really rude, disrespectful, self-centered. Then you have Sean, who is like, he is kind of along for the ride. He doesn't know what's really going on, doesn't know the plan, and is just like a third wheel essentially. He's not, he's very soft spoken, very nice person. He's like in the wrong place, but he's there. It's like they convinced him to come along. Then you have DJ, who is like, he's a kind of a wisecrack kind of guy. He makes a lot of jokes and wisecracks, and he's got a more, even though he's in line with Anthony and what they plan on doing, and he's very serious about being a nobleman, but he's got more of a comical feel. He's kind of more of a, I don't know what you would call it. He's witty. He's a wisecrack. And so they come in, and the first thing they say, the DJ goes in, and well, Anthony's like, he's just, he's just very rude. He's like, "Are you gonna serve us? Or are you gonna stand there all day?" Very rude. And DJ's like, "Wait, hold on." He's like, "Your name is Becky?" It's like, huh, that's a name of a stripper, and I like that because your mom named you that. So I like your mom, which is a really weird thing to say. It's a very strange thing, very weird thing to say to anybody, especially someone who's going to be a waiter, waitress, and wait on you and give you food. I mean, if you ever disrespect a waiter or waitress, they're gonna spit in your food, right? And these guys are the type of guys that don't give a shit and probably get their food spit in all the time. But anyways, you know, so he goes on. Anthony's like, yeah, he wants to fuck your mom, and it's very it's so rude because beforehand we learned how her mom died of cancer, and it's just so fucking rude. It's so rude. It's over the top. It's so rude. And Becky doesn't really react to it. She's just okay, whatever. Like, I'll take you to the table and serve you. And so later, a bit later, it cuts to them sitting at the table, and they're talking about Senator Hernandez, and she's going to be at a town hall, and they like hate her. And and Sean is like, I don't know, I have a weird feeling about all this. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. And they're just joking. They're just like bullying him. He's like, stop being a little bitch or whatever. This and that. And then, so Anthony's like, calls over Becky. It's like, hey, like, could you come over here and serve us? Like, in a very, again, very rude, right? Super rude. And Becky's the kind of person that, like, she like, when people are rude to her, she'll have these like things that she could wish she could do, like slice someone's throat, pretty really out there, crazy stuff. So this time she comes in, hands Sean a coffee, hands DJ, and Anthony, who's like really rude, basically throws the cup like into his pants, and it kind of burns him, and he's like freaking out and cussing at her. And she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't, just kind of pretending to be dumb." And so after that interaction, it's it cuts to a little bit further in the, like, time passes. It's time for her to clock out. She clocks out. She's riding her bike, and the three guys are in the truck, and they're waiting for her. And Anthony's really pissed that that she did this. He wants to teach her a lesson. And again, Sean is like, dude, she's just a little girl. Like, are you seriously gonna be like acting like this because a little girl did this to you? Like, whatever. And then DJ's like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Do whatever we'll do whatever. You want to kill her, we'll kill her, whatever. I don't care. And so they follow her, they stalk her basically to her house. And so now it's nighttime. Becky's in her bed. She's looking at the key that she has, and she hears a window crash, and she find this like she's like really like, oh, this is like really strange. So she hides the key. She goes downstairs to like investigate what's going on, look around, and here comes Anthony from behind her and like puts a hand over her mouth and this and that, and Anthony's like, it's I'm here to teach you a lesson. That kind of attitude, right? That really shitty alpha male attitude. They can't let things go. They get so emotional over nothing. He's that kind of guy. No control of his emotions, and so he's got to teach her a lesson. And so and while he's like saying this, Becky like I don't know, headbutts him in the nose and like breaks his nose. And here comes Diego. Diego is like a big pit bull kind of dog, and Becky's like, Diego, attack! And so Diego hears that and is like about to attack, but here comes DJ with a bat and hits the dog, and pretty much like knocks the dog out. And Becky's like, oh my god, my dog. It's kind of a John Wick thing going on with the dog, with Becky and the dog. You hurt my dog, I'm gonna get really pissed, that kind of thing, right? So here comes DJ, hits the dog with a bat, and has a gun, pulls out a gun, points it at Becky, and is like, and she's like kind of frozen, and is like, oh my god, and he's like, you remember me? Good girl, sit down, that kind of bullshit. So she falls, she walks back to the wall, and it's like sits down. Anthony's over there with a busted nose. He's like pissed. He's even more pissed with a broken nose. He's like, oh my god, I think she broke my nose, complaining. And so here comes Sean. He's the sweet guy he's pretty much the sweet guy who got in the wrong crowd, and he's freaking out. He's like what's going on here? I thought we were gonna do a ding dong ditch, and DJ's like, plan B. We decided to go in and scare her and whatnot, teach her a lesson. So Becky's like pretty freaked out, and then here comes uh Miss Khan, the black old woman with a shotgun in her hand, like a pump action shotgun, points it at them and is like, "You need like put your fucking gun down. You need to get the gun down." And so they hesitate, and Sean's freaking out. He's like, "Put the gun down. Put the gun down." So DJ eventually does. He puts the gun down, and she's like, then she says, "Now get the fuck out of my house," and so after that, basically Anthony has a gun tucked away, like behind him, in his pants, and so he grabs that gun out of his pants and shoots Miss Khan right in the head, like boom, right there. And Becky's like freaking out. She cannot believe and having flashbacks of like when they shot her dad, and so she's like really freaking out. She gets really pissed, like really filled with like anger, and like rushes up to attack Anthony, but Anthony pretty much pushes her into the wall and she gets knocked out, and it's blackout. So that's pretty much the inciting incident where they attack her and whatnot. It changes the whole status quo of the movie. Everything's different now. So she wakes up, and it's like daylight. She sees that Miss Khan is dead with a bullet shot right in her forehead. I mean, she's dead. She's dead. Blood gushing out over there, and so she's kind of like I don't know what you would call it, but she's totally like surprised of how this went down. Like it's crazy. And then she notices her dog is missing, and so this makes her like really pissed. And then we cut to the three that have just arrived. They're in their truck, and they drive to this cabin, and they park the car, and they have a discussion out there. They're like, okay, look, Anthony is like if any of you cannot mention this, we cannot talk about this. This is something we cannot bring up. But he does it in such a like, he's like you can't fucking talk about this. He's holding Sean by the neck, because Sean is a very like sweet man. He's just in the wrong place. He's hanging out with the wrong crowd, basically. It's like there's no. It just seems like he's the kind of guy who got mixed up with the wrong people. That's Sean. But anyways, so they make a pact, like we never talk about this, right? We cut back to Becky, and Becky's going through Miss Khan's stuff, like jewelry and pictures, reminiscing, looking at her old photos from when she was young. And then the next thing is like she buries her in like the yard, and basically at that point, this is the point. Usually, like in movies, the hero of the movie has to choose the journey, and this is when she like chooses, like to get revenge. She's got to find her dog and get revenge for those guys killing Miss Khan. And so she go then boom, she goes take chooses the journey, goes into action. She's going through the house looking for weapons. She finds like bear spray, like pepper spray. She finds ropes, duct tape, all kinds of things. She even suits up. She has like this red outfit, very pulp like, very pulp art kind of graphic novel type of thing going on. She's like a very something a character that you would see in a graphic novel. It's really perfect in that way. So she's got this red bag full of stuff, and so the first thing she remembers is that she remembers them talking about Daryl, and so she looks up, Daryl in her little small town, and it just happens that there's only two Daryls in that whole town. It's a very small town, and so she goes to the first Daryl, and that Daryl happens to be a woman, like an older woman, probably in her 90s, and she's got this oxygen tank, and she's smoking. And Becky's like, "What the hell? Your name is Daryl? How weird." And she's like, "You shouldn't be doing that." And the older woman, whose name is Daryl, says, "Well, I won't tell if you don't tell." And so that ends that conversation. She goes on to find the other Daryl, and so that's when she gets to the cabin. There's a flag that has the nobleman flag, and she's like, "Okay, this is the place." So she like sneaks towards the cabin, and it cuts to the whole group having like a lunch. And what's hilarious to me is that so we meet Daryl, and Daryl is played by Sean William Scott. Is that his name? Sean William Scott. And he's this like very serious guy, very serious. They call him Sir. He's very intimidating with his like how his posturing, how he speaks, just very intimidating. And he gives grace before they eat, which I found just hilarious. And so there's Twigs. Twig is this like kind of hillbilly character, like your typical who lives out in a cabin type of thing. And so we have Anthony and Sean and DJ. They're eating. Sean is having trouble eating the food for some reason. Like he doesn't like it, and so um, Daryl, the intimidating guy, is like kind of offended, and so not only that, Sean is wearing a hat, and Daryl's like, you should take off your hat when you're at the table, and so he's already doing everything wrong. He's making Sean really nervous. Not only that, he doesn't seem like he seems like a sweetheart and honest guy, and so it just seems like he's really out of it because they're hiding the fact that they killed a woman and stole a dog. It's like eating him up inside. And so at one point he gets up from the table and goes to the bathroom and throws up. And Daryl notices this. And so, he goes to see him, and then takes him, like they have a little conversation. And so Becky sneaks in the cabin in this room, and she sees it's like the room where you see the plans about what they're gonna do at this rally at the town hall with what is it, Senator Hernandez or whatever. And there's like blueprints. There's all kinds of stuff that looks like they're getting ready to do like a hit job. She just pulls her phone out and starts taking pictures, and then she hears them coming because Daryl and Sean. Uh, Daryl wants to have a talk with Sean, like a little one-on-one private talk. So they take him into this room, and Becky hides underneath this couch, like really quickly before they see her. And so they sit down, they have a little chit chat. Like Daryl's just kind of poking into the guy, poking to Sean. He's like, "So why did you join the nobleman?" He kind of explains, "Well, I went to a rally, and that was my first time, and I got pepper sprayed and this and that, and this and that." And so Daryl's like, "Yeah, that's good, that's good. Like, let me show you something." So he pulls out this little. He goes to the shelf and pulls out like a book. In this book, there's this like USB that's like encrypted or something, and he puts it in the laptop, and it's like especially encrypted, so like nobody can hack into it. No agency, FBI or CIA could ever like hack into it or look into it. So, and he's showing Sean uh all like this huge list of people that are part of the nobleman. It's a huge list. And so he's like, wow, this is really cool. And then Daryl explains, like, he just sees Sean is very nervous. He's a very nervous. He stands out. He doesn't seem like he's like really into the whole nobleman thing. And so he's just kind of probing him and tells him the story about how he was in the military. He was a staff sergeant, served 3 times in Iraq. And there's this one situation where they came in to find this guy who was killing them, and instead found the wife, and he was having his way with the wife. And eventually people came out shooting, and one of the guys that was with him, named Tootsie, because he always got Tootsie Rolls sent to him. Anyways, he got shot in the shoulder, two in the leg. He was in a lot of pain. They had to run out of there and go into this empty house. And Tootsie wouldn't keep quiet. He was in a lot of pain, making like a lot of noises, and they were hiding. So if he kept making noises, they would find him and then probably kill him all. So what Daryl did was basically suffocated Tootsie until he died, because he felt like he had no choice. And it's almost like a warning to Sean. It's like, if you know it's like, if you're gonna be the weakest link here, I may have to kill you. It's kind of how it came off, very, very intimidating, but also being a nice guy, being a nice host at the same time. And so, and that's the end of the conversation. Sean goes back to the table, and before Daryl walks out, he notices the window is still open. That's the window Becky used to climb in to sneak in the room. He notices it's open. He doesn't. He thinks it's strange, but doesn't really think much about it. They call him to go back to the table, so he goes back to the table. So that's when Becky gets on the laptop and sees the big list of names and takes the USB drive with her. She gets out of the room. So now she has that. She's got the pictures and she has a thumb drive. So then we cut to them, um, or we cut to her. She runs to a barn on their property. And that barn is filled with an arsenal of weapons. I mean, it's just, there's a table full of all kinds of weapons, gas mask, huge machine guns. I mean, you name it, they have it. Grenades, smoke bombs. So she's like, oh, okay. So I got some weapons here. Pretty cool. So then it cuts back to the cabin, and there's everyone sitting and they're having beers, and uh, they're enjoying their time. And then something happens. And this is where I think pretty much where Act Two begins. Becky leaves her flip phone on the patio of the front door and rings the bell. So here comes Daryl, answers the door. There's nobody there. He sees the phone. It's ringing. He doesn't answer, but he picks it up, and he sees that on the front of the flip phone, the little screen, it says Becky. He's really confused. So he goes up to uh, Anthony, DJ, and Sean, and he's like, shows him the phone and is like, "Do you know who Becky is?" And so that's when Sean, he's the sweetheart, he's the nice guy, he's the guy who's like can't lie. So he starts talking. He's like, "Well, this dog isn't our dog. We stole this dog." DJ and Anthony are like, shut up," like, shut the hell up. And so they're like, okay, Daryl's like, can somebody please tell me what the hell's going on with this? This is really, really weird. And so finally, DJ says, to kind of give like half a lie, basically half the truth. He's like, yeah, we did steal a dog. It was from this little girl. That's what Sean was trying to tell you. And so, you know, they're like, okay, so it's kind of half the truth there. That doesn't tell them that they killed somebody. So and so so then Daryl's like, so whose dog is this? Like, you stole this dog from a little girl. And so he's pissed. You can he's not showing that he's pissed, but you can see it in his eyes. He's holding back his anger. He's like, "Oh my god, these freaking idiots!" And so Daryl's like, "All right, give the fucking dog back to the girl, okay? Like this is so dumb. This is ridiculous. Like somebody, one of you idiots take care of this problem. This is so dumb." So Anthony's like, "All right, I'll take care of it." He starts walking out the door, and Daryl's like, "What are you doing? Aren't you forgetting something?" And Anthony's like, "What?" And Daryl's like, "The dog." And Anthony's like, he's planning something. You can see that he's trying to do something, and he's like, "Well, listen, I'm gonna go talk to her first, calm her down, and then I'll give her dog back." So he walks outside, is looking for her. They even get a call from Becky. It's like a little, what do you call it? A child's rhyme. I think it was. There once was a girl who had a curl on her forehead, and when she was good, she was very good, but when she was bad, she was horrid. She, it's like a little nursery rhyme type thing, and it kind of like it freaks one of them out. One of them is like, "Are you kidding me? This is a joke." Anthony's like, "Stop acting like a little like little pussies. Like it's just a little 12-year-old girl we're dealing with, you know." So anyway, so Anthony goes outside. He's screaming for her. He's like, "Hey, I'll give you your dog back. Just come down here and talk to me." And so Becky's like in the forest, like in the trees, and she's like, "Well, no, you come talk to me." And so she starts moving deeper into the forest. And so Anthony's like, okay, like starts walking towards her and chasing her and is pissed. He's like, "Can you stop? Like, can you stop walking? I want to talk to you." Finally, he pulls out a gun, and we get to a point where there's like this tractor, like one of those tractors where you dig holes. And so they're there, and Becky starts moving to a certain direction to where Anthony doesn't know this, but there's a giant hole right there in front of him, and it's like covered. And so, but we, as the audience, we don't quite know this, but so that's what she does. She walks a little bit to the right, so that way the hole is directly in between them. And so Anthony's like, "Well, I can't shoot you and kill you with the gun because the guys will hear it. Then there'll be a lot of questions, and that would be very annoying. So I'm just gonna have to figure out a different way to kill you." So he starts walking towards Becky, and he just falls flat into this hole, and just like it's kind of hilarious because he's like, "What the hell?" He's gasping. He's just like hurt. He's confused, and of course he dropped the gun before he fell in the hole. He fell in the hole, and so Becky walks around the hole, picks up the gun, and aims it at him. And Anthony's like, "Look, don't kill me. Don't kill me. I just want to give you your dog back." And which is not true. He was trying to kill her basically. And so Becky is like, "I could shoot you, but then they'll hear it, and that's going to be problems. And besides, that's pretty boring. Guns are boring to me." So she pulls out a grenade out of her pocket, and you're just like, "Oh, what is she going to do?" I thought she was going to throw the grenade in the hole. That's not what she does. So it cuts back to the cabin. We don't know what's going on with them. And so Twigs is like, "Should we call?" Like, what does he say? They're arguing about something. I can't. Yeah, they're arguing about something, and eventually, uh, they hear a knock on the door, and they answer it. And Daryl, before he opens the door, he sees out the like little window in the door. He sees Anthony like tied up and has a duct taped around his head as a grenade in his mouth. And he's pretty much trying to tell them, like, "Please don't open the door," right? He's got this grenade in his mouth, and he's like, "Please don't open the door, please." He's like begging for his life. And Daryl doesn't know what's going on. He sees him, but he opens the door, and the grenade has a string attached to the little metal knocker on the door. And so when he opens the door, it pulls the pin off the grenade, right? And so Anthony is standing there, duct tape with his grenade duct tape to his mouth, right? And he's like screaming. He's like, "No!" And his head blows up. His head blows up. It is pretty gory. It's pretty funny. It's pretty disgusting, right? And before it blows up, Daryl closes the door because he sees what's going on. And so he opens the door, and everybody comes out because they're like, "What the hell was that?" And when they walk out, they see Anthony's body on the ground with his head blown up. And Sean vomits again. This is the second time he throws up. And Twig is like, "What do we do? Do we call the police? Like this is crazy." And so Daryl's like, "We can't call the police. First of all, there's a guy on my front lawn who with his head blown up, and I have a barn full with weapons that like for our insurrection for tomorrow." Right? Like that slips out of his mouth. And so when Sean hears that, he's like, "An insurrection?" It's like, "I didn't sign up for this." So he's like, he starts yelling at DJ. I was like, "I knew you assholes tricked me. I knew you guys brought me along for something, and I just knew something was off, because he didn't know the original plan. He was just kind of brought along, and so he finds this. He hears that, and he's freaking out. He's like, "I don't want to be a part of this. Like, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here." And so Daryl is like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! Before, like, just stay the night. You can help us get ready for tomorrow, and we'll talk about it." And Sean is like, "I'm not like." He's like, "Fuck the nobleman," and he's like, "Fuck you, you mother freaking psycho." And before he can finish his sentence, Daryl, like with his wrist, smacks him in the face and like pretty much like I don't know what you call it. His nose busts his nose into his face. Right, he's like choking on his blood. Then he hits him again, and he's just like blood coming out of his mouth, and he's like he can't even breathe. And so Daryl walks up to him, and he's like, "This is not a nobleman," and he just snaps his neck and kills Sean like that. So already, boom, Anthony gone, Sean is gone, and so we're already like halfway the mid like past the midpoint of the movie. We're like getting into pretty much the end of Act Two and getting close to Act Three. But I mean, when the killing starts, that's pretty much where. Well, I would say a little bit after that, after the main stooges kind of all die, then Act Three starts. But we're getting close to at the end of Act Two. So then Twig is pissed. He's like fuck this girl. I'm gonna go kill her right now. And Daryl gets a call on the cell phone. It's Becky, and they have a little conversation. And he's like, I got some guests here who I guess upset you. He's being very cordial in the beginning. Becky's not having it. She's like, I know what you guys are gonna do. You guys are gonna go to the town hall and do like an insurrection. And Daryl's like, oh fuck, like how'd she know that? Like kind of freaking out. And is like, they had the dog, so he's like, how about I kill your dog? And Becky's like, well, if I hear a gunshot, I'm gonna send all the pictures that I got to the sheriff's office. And then Daryl's like, okay, what about I just kill you? And then Becky's like, well, if you kill me, you'll never find the thumb drive with like the list and everything. And so Daryl is just pissed. He's like, you're fucking with the wrong guy, you know. And so Twig goes out there. He's pissed too. He just wants to kill her. So he goes out there. He's like walking on the dock. There's this big lake that the cabin's by. He's like walking on the dock, looking around. And while she's on the phone with Daryl, she's getting ready. She's got this, what do you call it, crossbow that she's like getting ready to shoot. And so the last thing she says is like, "Well, you better go check on your friend," and then hangs up and then shoots the crossbow. And this is like one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So Twig is standing on there on the dock, and this bow, like this arrow, comes flying out from the side and hits his cheek, goes through his mouth and out the other cheek. So he's got this arrow like in his mouth, and he's like shocked, right? And blood starts pouring out. He's not dead, but it definitely did some damage there. And so Twig goes running inside the cabin and goes to Daryl, and he's like, and Twig is screaming, "She's got a bow and arrow or whatever. She's got a crossbow." And it's like, "What do I do? What do I do?" And so Daryl's like, hold still," and grabs like one end of the arrow and just pulls it out of his face, like just straight out, and just like knocks out some teeth. And Twig is like, oh, he's in a lot of pain. And he's like, "I'm gonna kill that girl. So he goes outside, and there's Becky waving, like, hi, with the crossbow in her hand. She's like, hi. It's so funny. And so, yeah, Twig is like, "I'm gonna kill you." He starts running after her. And Daryl's like, "No, don't kill her. We need to know where the thumb drive is." and so he can't really control him, and so he goes to DJ, who's just like crying because he's just like, man, this is like crazy, like this is way out of control. And Daryl picks him up and is like, what does he say? He's like, I need you to go get that girl alive and bring her back. And if not, I'm going to kill you, basically. And he's like, you got me? And DJ's like, I got you. And, so he goes out running. And it's funny because he runs out the front door and there's his friend Anthony laying on the floor with his head blown up. And it's got like, you can see the top of his head laying like a few feet away, and DJ's running and jumps over him, and he's like, "Fuck this!" He runs to the truck and just peels off, like he's getting the hell out of there. He's freaked out, and so Daryl's like, "Ah, motherfucker!" He's just mad that they just ditched him, and so it cuts to Becky running towards the barn, and she gets in it. Here comes Twig with like this like pump action rifle, and is like takes a shot and misses, takes another shot and misses, and is like, at this point he locks the barn doors behind him, so like everything's locked in, and just he's just kind of taunting her. He's like, I'm gonna kill you, like you're locked in. And so Becky has this like it's like a grenade, but it's the gas one, the gas bomb thing, and throws it, and it lands right underneath his feet. He's like, oh fuck. This thing sparks and gas goes everywhere. He can't breathe. So he opens the door, and he's out of bullets because he starts shooting like everywhere. He's like, after the gas like starts going, he starts shooting everywhere, and he's coughing and he crawls out because he can't breathe. And then here comes Becky. She's wearing this gas mask and she's inside this tractor and starts like moving towards him. And Twig is like, no, no, please God, no. Then it cuts freeze frame, and it's one of those things where she wishes she could have done. She's like, oh, I couldn't find the keys to this, but I managed. So then it cuts back, and Twig is like crawling outside, and here comes Becky. She like walks through the barn doors outside, right behind Twig. Twig is crawling on the ground, like saying, "Oh, please God, no!" She takes off the gas mask and has a machete in her hand, and pretty brutal. And she's about to strike him, and Twig is like, please God, like please don't kill me, like I got a baby boy, I got a wife, like please don't kill me, I'll do anything, don't kill me, like I swear to God I'll raise my boy right, like just please don't kill me. And she's like, she softens up a little bit, like that kind of gets to her and like softens up. And then she asks a question. She's like, what's his name, right? And Twig is like, wait, what, who? Your son, what's your son's name? She says. And Twig is like, fuck, Adolf. She freaks out. She's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. She takes the machete and just starts swinging and fucking cutting him up in pieces. And that scene is brutal because it cuts back from her face, getting blood on her face, like Braveheart or some shit. And she's just swinging, and Daryl's like, taking hits. And, just a bloody mess. She's covered from head to toe in blood and just going like a savage, just cutting him up in pieces. And then finally, like kind of when she stops for a second, she gets hit in the neck with this dart. It's like a tranquilizer dart, and so she kind of falls asleep and falls over. So now we're like in Act 3 of the movie, pretty much. We're into Act 3. She's been caught. She's inside the cabin, tied up. Blood dried up and everything. It's been a day, and there's Daryl sitting in a chair, who's just kind of been waiting for her to wake up. And they're kind of just like having a conversation. He's calm. His calmness is very intimidating. The way how calm he is in every situation, even though that guy's head was blown off, snaps that guy's neck, his friend Twig was just killed. He's just calm. He's just very calm. It's very intimidating. And so she's kind of just talking to her. He's like, like, I went through your bag. I got your bear spray to the right. Like, he set it down over there. The knife is set over there. She's tied up. She's kind of freaked out because she's in a bad situation. And then Daryl holds the key in his hand. He's like, this is a really interesting key. And he opens it up. And she didn't know it opened up. This is like the first time she learns it opens up, and there's coordinates on that key. And like that's the first time we learn of that. And so she's like, oh, that's interesting. And then they talk a little bit, and here comes the other Daryl. the old lady from the beginning, the first Daryl she went to when she was looking for a Daryl in town. There's only two Daryls. Well, that Daryl, that woman, it turns out she comes in and starts talking. And it turns out she's the head of the like organization, and she's Daryl Senior, and her son is this other Daryl that she named after him. She named after her, and it's Daryl Junior basically. And so she's like, she's just like freaked out by this. And the old lady is sinister in her own way. She's so sinister, right? And she's like basically gonna torture the dog until Becky gives the thumb drive back because they want the thumb drive back. And Becky is very smart. She's like, well, you're never gonna find it, and if I give it to you, you're just gonna kill me. They have that scene is long. It stretches out. They have like a back and forth conversation for a while. Finally, Daryl Jr. grabs the dog's head and starts like crushing it like a little bit, and the dog starts whining. And so that breaks Becky. Becky's like, no, stop, stop, don't hurt my dog. Please don't hurt my dog. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. But you gotta promise me one thing. And so they put the dog back in the cage, and Daryl Senior, the old woman with the oxygen tank, she's talking to her, and she's okay. Name your terms. This is where it switches gears. So hilarious. Becky's like, when I get out of this chair, I'm going to kill you both. And when you die, promise me you'll go straight to hell. One of the best lines in the movie. And Daryl Jr. is like, how are you going to get out? As soon as he says that, Becky pulls out her hand with the middle finger, and and Daryl Jr. is like, oh fuck, and like starts like walking towards her, and she kicks him, and he kind of goes flying back. She does this like tuck and roll, and with the free hand grabs the bear spray and sprays Daryl Jr. in the eyes and the face, and he's just like, he like knocks the thing out of her hand. And he's just like in a lot of pain, like kind of like walks towards the bathroom to rinse off. And Becky's trying to hurry up to untie her other arm, and so Daryl Senior, the old woman, she's going through her bag, and as soon as she gets free from the chair, Daryl Senior already has a gun pointing at her, right? And she says, "Well, I was gonna let my son kill you, but I'm gonna have to have the honors." And Becky says, "Well, if you kill me, you'll never see that thumb drive ever again." And so Daryl goes, "You're right," and goes, "Sorry, Pooch," and points the gun to the dog. And she pulls the, what do you call it? The little, not the trigger, but this part of the gun. She pulls it back, and it like rotates the revolver and has the bullet in the chamber or whatever ready to go. And so before she can pull the trigger, Becky does another roll, grabs a knife that's sitting on the other end, and she throws it. Because in the beginning of the movie, we've seen her practicing with it and is like really good with it. And so she throws the knife, and the knife hits Daryl Senior right in the forehead. And it goes right in her brain, and she like falls back. And then so Becky, she runs towards her dog and says, "I'll be right back," and whatever. I'll get you back. You'll be safe. And runs out of the cabin. Here comes Daryl Jr. with his like, who's just finished washing his face from the bear pepper spray stuff. Sees his mom dead and is like, like infuriated with it. Pulls out his pistol from his bag that he had in the back of his pants and starts chasing her. So now we have this chase where she's running through the woods, and so Daryl's running right behind her. And there's a moment where he like takes some shots and misses, and he runs out of bullets and throws the gun out. Yo, Krishna! It's got a comment from Krishna. What's up, Krishna? How are you, my good friend? Good to see you pop in the comments. My good friend from India. So I'm in the very last part of the movie, Krishna. The last part. Let me finish this and we can talk about whatever. But essentially, they're running through the woods, and she comes to a point where she notices a marking on the tree, so she knows where she is because it looks like she set another trap, and she like jumps over this little patch of dirt, whatever, and waits for him there. Daryl shows up and is like, "Well, this is the last of it." And Becky goes, "There's still some more." Like, and so Daryl takes a step forward, and a freaking bear trap like just smashes into his leg, like boom, and he's in so much pain, but he's the kind of guy that like tries to contain everything. So he's like, you can see like his veins popping. He's like, he's in a lot of pain, but then he just like he like he has the strength to like continue forward, right? So he takes another step forward, and his left leg lands on another bear trap. So now he's got that leg in the bear trap. He's got both legs in the bear trap. He's in so much pain. You can see it in his face, but his eyes, you can see he wants to continue moving forward, but eventually he can't. So he falls down. When he falls down, his head lands on a bear trap, and it just smashes like around his neck, and it like cuts his throat, and he's pretty much dead. He's dying. And Becky's just sitting there staring at him like as he dies. And Daryl says his last words are "Well done." Freaking hilarious. So she runs back to the cabin to free her dog Diego, and surprise, surprise, this was hilarious to me. This was a surprise. Daryl Senior gets up from the ground with a knife sticking in her head, and she's like, "Well, I guess you missed my brain." And she pulls out the gun and shoots. And then you're like, "What the heck just happened?" And then it cuts to like a long shot where Daryl Senior's like facing the wrong direction, and totally missed. And Becky's like, I guess I didn't miss your brain." And it's freaking hilarious. And then Becky's like tells Diego to attack, and so Diego attacks the old lady and just out of frame and just shreds her to pieces. And Becky's covered in blood. So that's where the climax ends, the fight ends, and oh, you're right, Krishna, my brother from India. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, thanks for correcting me on that. But yeah, so then it cuts to black. It says 24 hours later. She's in a building with like a high rise building with windows you can see, and there's this table, and this woman comes in with an outfit like a suit. She sits down. She goes, "My name is Kara Montana. I'm with the CIA." And she goes, "I have two questions for you, but only if you say yes to the first question, I can tell you the second question." And so Becky's like, "Okay, what's the first question?" Whatever. The first question is, which was surprising to me, but pretty interesting. The first question is, how would you like to be the youngest recruit for the CIA? And she's like, fine. And then, the CIA agent is like, no, I need a definite no or yes. That's not going to work for me. And she goes, yes, like with an attitude. And she goes, okay. And then the second question is, she pulls out the key when she pulls out this like the key part out, and there's a stem that has like coordinates, and she's like, how would you like to find out what like where this is? And she's like, yeah, I'd like to find out where that is. And they talk a little bit how DJ got away, and the CIA agent is like, oh, we'll find him, don't worry, we'll find him. And the reason why they offered her that position is because she single-handedly took down uh the noblemen, which is like a terrorist group, and she stopped like an insurrection. She gave them the list, the thumb drive with all the names. So she single-handedly took down a whole terrorist group, a 16-year-old. So that's why they offer her the job. And then it cuts to the titles, the Wrath of Becky. Then it cuts to another scene where you see DJ out in the fields. He's working on his truck. He has a copy of Minecraft in the truck. It's fucking hilarious. And so here comes a black unmarked vehicle with like police lights coming in, parks kind of like at a distance, but like behind him. And like DJ notices and he's like, oh shit, like what's this? And before he can really think, here comes Becky dressed in like black suit, super CIA, and pulls out a freaking bazooka, shoots the thing. Missile goes so fast, it hits the truck and the truck explodes. And then there's this really cool shot of the sunglasses she's wearing, and you see the reflection of the bazooka and the reflection. A really cool shot. And then she basically drops the bazooka and has a smirk on her face and looks at the camera, and that's it. That's the end of the movie. Okay, this is a very very what I would call, it has like a pulp graphic novel feel. The violence is exaggerated. It's got a very stylized editing and visuals. It's like I said, very graphic novel feel. So her character arc, there's not much there. That she doesn't really change as a person, but like I said in the beginning, she goes from just being, you know, a 16-year-old, you know, just kicking ass to becoming the CIA agent, you know, the youngest recruit in history. So there's that, and that, you know, that's gonna change her life and whatnot, and it's open to a third movie, which I like. I think it'd be incredible if they made a third movie. I don't know what the third movie would be, but and especially now that she's part of the CIA, I think a third movie with Becky would be really, really cool. And I hope they do it because I would be like the first person to go watch it, you know. So, anyways, that's the whole thing. That's the whole spiel. That's the whole movie. Like I said, I give it 2 thumbs up, 5 out of 5 stars. I like finding movies that are different, you know, and just unique. And this was very quirky in its own way. Very entertaining. Very entertaining. And like I said, it's the short. All the movies that I've reviewed, this was the shortest. It's only an hour and 20 minutes, like 24 minutes, hour and 24. So not too long of a movie. Very enjoyable. Like I said, very quirky. Got some dark humor into it. So I recommend it if you haven't seen it. Definitely recommend the Wrath of Becky. Very cool movie. Very stylized. I like their cinematic approach to the movie, their editing. I like how she narrates. I like how they do those cuts where she's like thinking about doing something. You know, it's like the scene where she cuts this guy's throat, but it's she's just thinking about doing it. You know, so I like how they do that. I like how she tricks the Foster family. I thought that was really hilarious. A very good hook for the beginning. Um, but it's cool to see her evolve from like a runaway 16-year-old. In the first movie, she went through a lot, right? Now she's like trying to find quiet and peace, right? And then she turns into this like kind of superhero character with the red outfit. And then the end of the movie, she's in the CIA outfit. So, like I said, not much of a character arc. She doesn't change, uh, but but she does move up in the world, and so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool little ending there. And my one critique of the movie is because she made a hole for Anthony to fall in. Like, when did she find the time to do that? You know, building a hole takes forever. You know, so where did she find the time to do that? I don't know. I don't know where she found the time to do that. So that part didn't make sense to me. But she said she used a tractor to dig the hole, but it's like, dude, digging a hole that big, even if you have a tractor and you figure out how to use it, would take forever. It would be very loud and suspicious. So that's the only part of the movie that I'm critical about because that almost didn't make sense to me. I was like, what? Like, what? That doesn't make sense. But overall, though, I mean, movies are movies. They don't always have to make complete sense. You just have to believe in it, you know, believe the storyline. And is it believable? You know, do you buy it? But anyways, yeah, that's the only part I'm critical about the movie. But anyways, yeah, that's my whole spiel on that movie. Like I always say, this review and plotline is brought to you by the Indie Showcase and the Stay Gold Film Festival on Film Freeway. The submissions are open, and the regular deadline to submit your film is December 24th. So have that going on. Plus, I always like to promote my book. It's on Amazon. It's called Dialogues, Oklahoma Independent Cinema. Little about myself. I interview 14 creatives that live here in Oklahoma, Tulsa. They're writers, producers, writers. I've worked with Mel Gibson, actors that I've worked with, Leonardo DiCaprio. You know, you name it. This is like pretty interesting people. So you know, it's only $14.99 plus shipment on Amazon. I would appreciate it if you check it out. So the next movie, I don't know if they took it down. There's this movie that I want to do called Vacation. It's the reboot of the old vacation movies. That what's that guy's name? That comedian Chevy Chase. That he did this movie called Vacation. Anyways, the guy who was in the Hangovers movies and the Office show. He stars in this movie. It's hilarious. It's actually really funny. So I'm thinking about reviewing that one on Friday. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to all those people in the United States, and I'm very thankful for all the people around the world who check on me. I really appreciate it. But yeah, so I don't know if Vacation is still on Netflix because I saw that it was going to leave soon. So I hope that it is because I would love to review it. If not, I'll have to pick a different movie. But my nose is getting stuffy. But yeah, The Vacation, the reboot of the old classic comedy. I watched it. Hilarious, hilarious movie. The car, especially the car they drive, is so wacky and hilarious. It definitely it carries the humor throughout the movie. It's pretty funny. But even so, I recommend that movie for sure. But like I said, I need to double check because I don't know if it's still on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's still on Netflix. I'm gonna have to double check tomorrow and see that it is. Like I said, if it's not on Netflix anymore, I'll have to pick a different movie. But that's okay. Okay. Any comments? Any comments about the review or plot outline? Let me know. And then Krishna said he'll be back in 10 minutes. So I'm just going to wait for him and see when he gets back. But yeah, this is my 8th movie review. I hope I'm doing a decent job. Hope you guys like it. I'm enjoying the process. Like I said, as a filmmaker and screenwriter, I get to really dive into the mechanics of the storytelling. You know, there's always going to be an inciting incident. There's always going to be a hook. There's always going to be, you know, Act One, Act Two, Act Three. You have your plot turns. You have like the little things that work as bookends for the movie. You have like your Act One. You have your world, your status quo set up. There's all these little mechanics in storytelling and doing these things, I really enjoy it because I get to practice spotting all these things, right? And what makes every movie is a bit different, and their storytelling is a bit different. The mechanics of the story is always a bit different. So I like studying them and then giving you the plot outline. All right, so that's it. That's it. You're welcome to stay a bit longer. Like I said, I'm just waiting on Krishna to show up. Waiting on Krishna. My nose is a bit runny. Sorry, I apologize. Nose is a bit runny. Krishna, waiting on you, buddy. I'm gonna wait on you before I end the live and see if you want to talk a little bit, chat a little bit. I'm not sure what time it is. It's probably like 12:20, something like that. 12:20. Anyways, yeah. And this video itself will be available tomorrow at some point. Tomorrow in probably in the evening. So if you didn't catch the whole thing, you can watch it from the beginning tomorrow, and I'll post when I do that. But I hope people have a good Thanksgiving. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Hope you have a chance to hang out with your family. Well, here in the United States, hope you have a chance to stay in with your family. People have the day off from work. It's a good time to spend with your close ones and really think about what you're thankful. And funny enough, in the movie The Wrath of Becky, in the beginning, when they're setting up the status quo of the character in the beginning world, there's a scene where they're going over about what they're thankful. So I thought that was pretty cool. Uh, you know, but yeah, just waiting on Krishna. Otherwise, I would have ended this a while ago. But Krishna said to wait for 10 minutes. He's going to be back in 10 minutes. I don't know if 10 minutes have passed, but 10 minutes can feel like a long time when you don't know what to say. But yeah, I have. I'll try to go through the movies I reviewed. The Outfit, which I highly recommend all these movies, and they're all on Netflix. The Outfit is a great one. Fat Man, starring Mel Gibson, is really funny, dark humor. Frankenstein was really epic, really interesting. The the director Guillermo del Toro, who wrote and directed it, really did a very awesome job of making it very unique and just it just sticks out. It's very different from all the Frankenstein movies that have been made. Um, I did a review on The Marksman, starring Liam Neeson. What else did I do? I think that said four. I know I've done eight. The Wrath of Becky, Brick. Not sure which one else. I think there's one more there that I missed. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that. Now I'm just waiting on Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. When you coming back? When you coming back? Or else I'm gonna go to bed, Krishna. It's pretty late over here. It's pretty late. Pretty late. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for him. He said he'll be back in 10 minutes. I think he wants to talk for a bit. So we'll just wait for a second. Let me know when you're back, Krishna. Let me know when you're back. I'm not sure what he's doing. I'm not even sure if 10 minutes have gone by, but you know, Krishna's a good friend. Well, he's like like we're like brothers now. I'm his brother from the United States. And we talk quite a bit. He's like the guy I've talked to the most on YouTube. It's pretty cool. We've exchanged emails, WhatsApp, all that stuff. I even invited him. I said, Krishna, if you ever want to come to the United States and stay here as a guest, you are totally welcome to do so. So, Krishna, oh Krishna. All right, I'll give him 5 minutes. If he's not back in 5 minutes, I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna end it because I'm like I said, I'm pretty tired. Pretty tired. But he told me to hang on. He said, "Oh, he'll be back." What did he say? He says, "I'm with my bad luck, trying to give my best." That's all we can do. Krishna is always just give our best. Sometimes we get in a rut. Sometimes we got some bad luck, but you got to keep your chin up and keep moving forward, and just keep doing your best. You know, never give up. Never give up, Krishna. That's how you grow. That's how you grow. It could take years of doing what you have to do and never giving up, and that's how you grow. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. You know, and you just keep going at it until you achieve the goals that you set for yourself. Talking about goals, one of my goals this year was to get to 1,000 subscribers, and right now I'm very close. I think I need like 20 more to reach my goal. And I always say this. I always say this. When I reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm gonna release my latest feature film. It's independently made right here in Tulsa. It's called Stray Kids. Recently won Best Actor on that movie at a film festival. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So that's a wrap. That's a wrap on the review and plot outline. At this moment, I'm just waiting for Krishna. Waiting for Krishna. Waiting. That sounds like a movie title, doesn't it? Waiting for Krishna. No, but what's cool about doing the outlines and the reviews, it gets me thinking about movies again. Like thinking about scripts and structure and all this stuff. I have so many ideas, and there's one in particular that I would love to do, write it out. It's called Three. And I don't want to say too much, but it's about robots, about three robots. But that's all. I mean, there's more to it, but I don't want to give it away because you never know who's out there listening. Who's going to steal my idea. I don't want anybody to steal my idea because it's a pretty original sci-fi, and I don't want anybody to steal my idea. So that's all I'm going to give you. It's about three robots, and that's all I'm going to give you as far as that goes. But I've been thinking about it a lot. I've been thinking about a lot of the premise and the bad guy in the movie and the character arcs and things like that. But anyways, let me know when you're back, Krishna. You said you'd be back in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I'm going to give you like 4 more minutes. I'm going to give you 4 more minutes, Krishna. If you're not back in 4 minutes, I'm going to go back. I'm going to end the live and go to bed. End the live and go to bed. So, yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And for any of you watching, you can always comment below, ask questions. I'm available right now. I'm available for the next 4 minutes. 4 minutes. So if you want to ask any questions, please do so. This is the time to do so before I go to bed. And actually, if you go through my live videos, I did a live reading of my book. So I read like selections. So if you ever want to hear before you buy the book, if you want to hear like some of it, it's actually listed on my live section. I do a live reading of my book, so you can always check it out. But yeah, we wrapped up the music video not too long ago. We wrapped up the music video, and I'm gonna start editing that like pretty much after Thanksgiving. I got to work on my computer, clean it up, clean some space on my hard drive, start editing it, and I'm hoping to be done editing like in a week. It'll be released in December, hopefully, maybe mid-December around Christmas time. Kind of promote it, make little trailers for it, make little shorts, to promote it on YouTube. But who knows? Maybe we'll get 1 million views on this music video. I don't know. We'll see how well we do. You know, we'll see how well. We're gonna promote it. We're gonna promote the video. So you never know. You never know. If it catches fire, that would be truly amazing. It'd be a blessing. It'd be just very cool. Something very cool to do. Krishna, let me know when you're back. You got 3 more minutes. I'm gonna give you 3 more minutes. If you're not back in 3 minutes, Krishna, I'm sorry, but I gotta go. I can't just wait here. I just can't wait here forever. Even though you're my brother in India, can't wait forever. Plus, I can always catch you in the morning. I might go live in the morning, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I might just sleep in. But yeah, and also I was talking about Stray Kids earlier. Stray Kids is my independent feature film that I made, and there's a trailer. If you go to my channel, you go to videos. I got a trailer of Stray Kids. You can always check out the trailer, check it out. And we're only like I said, once I hit that 1,000 goal of subscribers, we're only like 17 away, like something like that. Very close. Once I hit that 1,000, I'm gonna release Stray Kids on YouTube for free for people to watch, people to tell me if they like it or not. You know, come on, Krishna, you got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. If you're not back in 2 minutes, I'm going to bed. I usually don't wait like this for anyone, but I am waiting for you. But I'm giving you 10 minutes, like you commented. You said you'd be back in 10 minutes. I'm gonna hold you up to that. But if not, then I'll catch you on the flip. On the flippity flip. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to release the music video. I'm excited to release Stray Kids. Be pretty exciting. See how it does. I've been thinking about Stray Kids too. I would call it Stray Kids with Vengeance. I kind of have a plot, sort of like in my head of what it'd be. But if I wrote out Stray Kids 2, it would have a similar structure. Not exactly, not like to the T, But I would use a movie like The Wrath of Becky to like help me structure out Stray Kids Part Two because it's got a similar vibe, a very similar vibe. It's got that kind of graphic novel, pulp art, exaggerated violence, stylistic visuals. You know, it's like perfect for that. So, all right, Krishna, you got 0 minutes left. I'll give you 1 more minute, Krishna. If you're not back in 1 more minute, I am calling it quits for tonight. Calling it quits. So let me know if you get back. I've given you more than 10 minutes. I've given you 11 minutes. But if anybody else wants to ask questions or comment below, I'll be happy to answer them to my best ability. If you have questions about the movie, I will try my best. Um, Lulu Wilson plays Becky. I think she did a fantastic job. She's got a future ahead of herself. She's got a great future ahead of herself as an actress. She's only 20 years old. She's already done, as far as I know, she's done these 2 movies, and they're pretty decent. Pretty decent. All right, Krishna, I'm sorry. Sorry, you're not back, so I'm gonna wrap it up. I've given you 12 minutes, more than 12 minutes. I've given you like 13, 14. I don't know. I lost count. That's it for me, folks. I hope you have a good night. And on Friday, I will do another movie review and plot outline. Like I said, hopefully the Vacation is still on Netflix. If it's not, I'm gonna have to pick something else. But I already have 2 movies an idea. 2 movies I really want to do reviews on. It's Ambulance and The Lincoln Lawyer. Looks like a pretty cool movie. So those are the 2 movies I want to do next week at some point. I'll have to pick a third. I'll have to pick a third. All right, I'm out of here, folks. I'm out of here, folks. Hope you have a good night. Hope you have a good Thanksgiving. I salute you all. You all have a great night or good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'll be seeing you soon. I'll be seeing you on the next one, folks. Take care now. You take care now. I'll be seeing you on the next one.